You. Good. My name is Adrienne Smith. I'm the president and CEO of the New Mexico Caregivers Coalition. Most of you I have not ever met, and you're in the right place. I know. I think this is probably your seventh class together if you're from the Individual Development Account Savings Program. And because I don't know many of you, I wanted to spend a few minutes hearing about you. And if you would tell me I'll call your name, and if you'll just tell me your first and last name and tell me a little about your job, if you have a job. Because I am assuming that even though we primarily work with caregivers, you are not all caregivers. And I am just glad about that too. So Linda, you were the first one here. Could you start? Tell us your name, maybe where you're calling in from, and a little about your job if you work.
My name is Linda Ibarra, and I've been a caregiver in Albuquerque since 2014 for the same person. So I've had the same client since 2014. Wow. I've kind of done caregiving. I've worked in the hospitals. I've done CNA work. I used to work with the handicapped since I was 19. So I've kind of been doing this for a long time.
Oh, great. And you say you're in Albuquerque?
I'm in Albuquerque right now, yeah. Well, actually, we're Rancho, but I work in Albuquerque.
Oh, real good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda. I'm calling in from Placitas, like Bridget, so we're kind of like neighbors. Good. Cynthia Garza, how are you? Tell us about yourself. It looks like you might be frozen.
Yeah, she looks like she's frozen. Huh.
I'm going to skip you, Cynthia, for the moment, and you might need to update your Zoom application. And let me go to Sherry Sanchez. Could you tell us a little about yourself and what your job is?
Go, get down.
Hi, I'm Sherry Sanchez, and I'm a CNA caregiver. And I do private care, and I work for a company.
Oh, good. Which company?
Always Best Care.
Covey.
Is that in what town or city?
Albuquerque.
Oh, great.
Right now I'm working with, she's developmentally disabled, and she's in Los Lunas.
Oh, wow. So you got a little commute there.
Yeah.
Going on, which is cost of gas.
Oh, yeah.
That'll come up. We'll talk about that, and I'm sure you've already talked about some of that already. Elizabeth Montoya, can you remind everybody about your great job and where you're calling in from?
Okay. My name is Elizabeth Montoya. I'm from Las Vegas, New Mexico. I've had a boarding home for the last 19 years. I've worked with New Mexico Behavioral Health. I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, so I go and fight for their rights. I fight for them to get a lot of their guardianship back. And so I've been doing this for the last 19 years, but I'm a jack of all trades. I go everywhere. My clients need me. They ask me to, I petition the state of New Mexico. So I do whatever people need me to do with people with disabilities. So that's what I do.
Elizabeth, great to see you again.
Thank you.
Sandra Tatum, it looks like you're think you got some sound now. How are you doing?
Hi, Adrienne. It's good to see you. Thank you so very, very much for helping me get some grief counseling with Nikki. It made a
Good.
significant difference, and I thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. My name is Sandra Tatum. Hello. I'm very grateful for the Caregivers Coalition. I took care of my grandmother to the end of her life, not before I knew about the coalition, and maybe before y'all existed, I'm not sure, but I also just recently finished doing 8 years of my mother's end of life care. She passed right here in the living room where I'm sitting, and she died naturally. It took 3 days. It was really intense. She had dementia, and she went all the way through the very end of the course of dementia. At the very end, she still had her mind. She had been an instructor at the School of Medicine at UNM, so she was very smart. She played classical piano. She had a lot of accomplishments, but in the end, dementia didn't get her mind completely, but it did take her body. And at the very end, I was holding her lips together to get the power shake not to come to run back out. It was pretty brutal. Of course, she
Oh,
was incontinent. She was been bedbound the last 2 years, and I'm 6 months out, but I'm still emotionally and physically recovering because it was so freaking intense. I have no siblings locally or at all. There's no family, no, but I was on my own. And so the coalition mattered a lot. And I thank you all for existing and for all the work you do. Thank you. In terms of education, I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist. I'm not working right now because I'm not ready. And
mm-hmm.
so I'm still recovering. Everything in my life was devastated. I'm rebuilding my life, including my finances. So here we are. So everything was just wiped out. So, but I did my best and I'm glad I did. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at
Good.
all.
Oh, good. Thank you, Sandra.
Mhm.
Cynthia, thank you for getting back on. You're not frozen anymore. Tell us about yourself.
No, my computer died and it decided to Zoom decided to update when I tried to get back on. I'm not a caregiver. I'm actually a patient, and I was actually helping my caregiver at the time with this program when I was told that I could also apply.
Hmm,
And I did. I'm glad I did. I
good.
thank you for allowing me to be part of this program.
Good.
I'm a full-time patient. I have 1 to 4 doctor's appointments on top of being ill. What else can I tell you guys?
Where do you live?
I live downtown in Albuquerque. I'm originally from Chicago, and I lived in Houston before I moved here. And before I became ill, which was in 2015, I practiced personal injury law in Houston, and I
Hmm.
have not worked since.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, I've
Thank you,
had
Cynthia.
initially when I first got ill, I tried to come up with creative ways of making money. I Airbnb'd my place. I done some like real estate crowdfunding investments and stuff like that. Um, and I'm still trying to get disability. The
Hmm.
judge thinks I'm filthy wealthy. She thinks I own a high-rise building. So yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm glad to meet you.
Oh, likewise. Thank you.
Good. Nikki, if you're able to take yourself off mute, I'm not sure where you are. Can you tell everybody else about you? Sandra knows you well.
I should not be muted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm up in Sapio, about 10 miles from Elizabeth. And I've been a facilitator with the coalition for pretty close to 2 years. Previously, back in the day, I did a lot of the training for the basic skills for caregivers. And I'm about to take a kind of hiatus, several months break, because I am in my late 70s going to become a parent for the first time to a teenage boy coming over, my husband's oldest son coming over from Cameroon. And I need to focus on providing space for him and us getting to know each other and figure out how to parent a teenager. So
Sandra's face was classic. Great. And thanks. I hadn't told Bridget about, why you were taking the hiatus. So when you describe it, oh my God, how big and abundant is Nikki's life, I think is the first thing I thought of after you told me that.
Yeah, this will be a
so
pretty big
anyway,
challenge.
thanks.
Great.
Cool.
Simonita, how are you? And can you take yourself? You might be working at Walgreens. Yes. Okay. If it's possible for you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Simonita. I am not a caregiver, but I am actually Sherry Sanchez's daughter. I help her a lot with her jobs. She likes to take me with her. It's really interesting to like get to know her patients and see what she does. And I'm really glad I could join you guys today.
Great. Thank you, Simonita. And Chris Love, we're just going through introductions. Tell us about yourself, where you're calling from, and what your job is.
Yeah, my name is Chris Love, and I'm a service coordinator for employment services over at Mandy's Farm.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, great. Good to see you. And your day is ending, I see right now.
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Good to meet you. Did we get to
Yes, ma'am.
everybody? Did I? Okay. Good deal. All right. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about benefits cliffs. I'm going to skip down here for a second and just get us on the same page about a benefits cliff, just so you know what we're going to be talking about here. So a benefits cliff is, some people call it the cliff effect, and this has been kind of talked about for at least 10 years. It's the event that occurs when a career advancement, a job change, better pay, puts you as an individual or your family above that income eligibility threshold for public assistance. It makes you as a worker worse off than before you got that wage increase. So that's a benefit cliff. There's also what's known as a benefit plateau. It's where you're neither worse off, but you're also not better off by that. Let's just take a hypothetical $2 an hour increase that you might get in your pay. As a result, you might lose food stamps. And so you're spending any extra money that you made on food instead. So this is the kind of issue we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to show you some tools that are no cost that can help you project out what would happen if you pursued a certain career path, or you even were thinking about taking a higher paying job kind of down the street, maybe at another organization, because you know what they pay and you know what you would be qualified for. You can actually project or play out what might happen if you get that additional money. Are you going to lose other benefits that you might have? Okay, so that kind of gets us on the same page with why we're here. And we went through and we did all kinds of introductions, and I appreciate that. It really helps me understand you better and where you're coming from. And if I could be in the IDA savings program, I would. And what I'm really happy about for our program here is that Bridget is enrolling people who aren't even caregivers. Most of you are in our program, but we do want this to be made possible to as many as possible. That said, and we are going to talk about benefits cliffs, I do want to introduce you just a little bit to the Caregivers Coalition and what we do. We started in the year 2009, and Nikki was helping like almost immediately. Nikki Sebastian was working with me kind of hand in hand to do some of the training when we first started. And the way we started out was through a series of listening sessions where we went around the state and we asked caregivers in particular to come out and tell us what they saw as their challenges at work and what they saw as their solutions. And Linda and Chris, for you to know, we had direct support professionals who came out and talked to us, and we also had personal care assistants, home health aides, nursing attendants. So they worked. These are that one term that we use, caregivers. We just make that kind of a blanket term, even though you might have a particular titled yourself like a certified nursing assistant and a direct support professional. You actually, as we see it, have much more in common in your job responsibilities and roles than you might actually know. And then the same is true, say, for example, Linda, Chris, and Sandra, as a family caregiver, which is what Sandra did for two family members. She has a lot more in common with you as the paid professionals in the workforce than I think a lot of caregivers actually realize. So over the years, we've kind of asked, is it better to separate family caregivers from paid professionals? And time again, people tell us no, because you tell us that you keep learning from each other and that you didn't realize how much you had in common. Back in 2009, here's what all those, large blanket term caregivers told us they wanted more of, or what they wanted to see. They wanted to see more education. They wanted to see more training. They wanted to see better wages. They wanted to see benefits. They wanted opportunities for social and professional networking. And they wanted to be able to make a choice about advocating for better environments, better workplace environments, but also better solutions at the legislative level, whether they were paid or whether they were family members. Next thing, I want to tell you a little bit about, and for those of you who have been or are family caregivers, these next couple of slides will show you how much you do have in common with those in the paid workforce. So this is the growth that we have seen between 2009 and 2019 in terms of the workforce right here in New Mexico. This field is the fastest growing field in our state. And so in 2009, we had almost 30,000 paid caregivers in the workforce. And in 2019, we had almost 36,000. That's a huge growth. And you'll see from this second set of charts, bar graphs, the growth is really happening among home health aides and personal care aides. And that is because this nursing home notion of, institutionalization, which those of you from developmental disabilities would really know, because Olmsted really wanted to push people back out in the community. By community, they mean group settings, and in terms of those who are elderly, in-home care. So this in-home care has really jumped, by 8,000 new jobs in a period of decade, while in fact the institutional care and the caregivers working in that setting has really declined. And we'll see that continue to decline. The reason we do the work that we do, we don't really know or have, I'm not going to say that because Bridget has the experience you have. I do not. I have not ever been a caregiver. I'm an advocate for caregivers, and I am an advocate for those of you, especially in the workforce. And it's because of this connection of the workplace characteristics of the workplace. So we know that this is primarily a female-dominated occupation. In our state, just like the rest of the country, 81% are people of color. And in our state, 17% are immigrants. At the national level, that number is much, much higher. In the state of New York, for example, because of New York City, 60% are immigrants. But that's where Ellis Island is. And still, a lot of people come to New York City as their first stop. Here's a little bit about the wages and what's happened to those in the last decade. So in real terms, wages were $10.39 an hour in 2019 compared to $10.90 in 2009. Wages have actually gone down in the last 10 years, not gone up. So that's further, squeezing people. more than half of caregivers in our state work part-time. And as a consequence, they have to cobble together 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. That may or may not fit, you know, a description of some of you. So on average, median annual earnings are $12,800. So a couple of the things that we did based on what caregivers told us in 2009, then we went out and did these listening sessions again in 2012 and again in 2014. They've kind of told us a lot of the same. They've said, we want better education, better training. We want better, if we're in the paid workforce, we want better wages and benefits. We want to be able to network, you know, social and professional networking, and we want to be able to advocate.
Come in.
So some of these things that we do today, because we want to stay true to our foundational, you know, set of programs, we
Kind of
deliver
okay.
all kinds of trainings, many of them kind of listed down here on the bottom. So infection prevention, safe transfer and mobility. But the focus of these trainings is on you as a caregiver. So it would be for you so that you don't throw your back out. So we figure that your agency's teaching you how to do safe transfer and mobility, for example, so the client doesn't get injured. But they probably don't spend a lot of time showing safe transfer and mobility so that you don't get hurt. We also try to spend a lot of time on self-care, communication skills, particularly with clients that have dementia, the financial literacy, which is the course you're enrolled in. We do things like Disability Rights 101. We do things like 17-week course on home and community-based services and workers' rights. Over here, you'll see training provided at no cost to caregivers. We never want to charge caregivers for any of the training that we do. Occasionally, an agency will pay us, but even that's not required. So I'm going to go to this next slide. A big part of what we're going to do, and oh, thank you, Cynthia, for that comment. I'm seeking full-time caregiver work to work 40 hours a week or part-time 2 people. Good. So this slide is the one we're going to kind of focus on today. With the help of the Federal Reserve Bank, they developed a tool for us so that you, as an individual or an agency that you're connected with, or even a state policymaker, can project out what would happen if you got, say, an additional increase in earnings. What would happen to your public assistance benefits? So this portal, it was developed by the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank, and which is not our district, but that doesn't matter. Oftentimes the tools they develop are there for everyone to use. So the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, with their great minds over there, they actually contacted a lot of different state agencies, and they fed New Mexico data at the county level into this particular tool that I'm going to show you. Let me see. I think we can almost do that about now. Reload this. So I'm going to back into this just a little bit. I'm going to show you the end result of the link that you're going to be using at some point or another. And then we're going to kind of move backwards a little bit and show you how to go through a few training modules so you can learn how to use it even on your own time. So here it is. Bridget, would you please put this URL into the chat box for us so that, you know, any of you who who want to do this as we're moving along, you can. Or you can just kind of wait, just whatever you want to do. You can get into it now. You don't even have to. I don't think you even need a user ID and password to get into this as a first step. So, but today we're just going to walk through a couple things kind of like high level. And then hopefully, as I said, give you time to look at a few videos that we can all look at together to give you a good sense of how it works. So I'm up at the Federal Reserve Bank URL. You can see the New Mexico is there at the end. Yes, Sandra, it is available online. And let's see. Let me copy. There you go. Okay. So it's in the chat box for you. I copied the URL into the chat box. And you can now keep that forever. That's the first thing. Okay, so we're in the New Mexico dashboard. This is called the dashboard. Let me just show you what's on the left-hand side here. It's just kind of split into two parts. State of New Mexico. So that's forever going to be there because obviously, we have New Mexico data loaded into this tool. We do not have Atlanta data loaded into this tool, for example. I'm going to click on, I'll click on Bernalillo since so many of you are from Albuquerque today. I'm going to click on, let's say, 1 adult and 0 children. Let's pretend like I don't have any children. This is just an example of how you could just start using it right away. You could click on all programs or no programs, or you could select a custom list. I'm going to select a custom list and look at how when I clicked on select public assistance programs, look at how everything just gets preloaded right here. So I can click on SNAP, free or reduced price school meals, WIC, child care subsidy, Head Start, Section 8, Medicaid for adults, Medicaid for children, earned income tax credit. Let's say I want to know about, let's say what I'm getting right now is earned income tax credit. And then I also get child tax credit, and I also get child independent care tax credit. Let's say that those are the only three. I'm just making this up as we go, just to show you kind of how simple it is. But you'd obviously put your own data in here. I was wondering about this. What example am I going to use? What is the job I've always wanted to do? Oh, you know what? I thought I wanted to be a musician. But I'm going to go in here just because I didn't figure that out yet. I'm going to go in here, select healthcare support occupations, and let's pretend that I want to become a medical assistant. That's additional training separate from those certified nursing assistant. Certified nursing assistant is a 75-hour program that then is you're certified at the federal level. I'm going to put medical assistant because that's a fairly new kind of occupation that pays pretty well, that looks a little bit like a phlebotomist and looks a little bit like a CNA. Okay, and then duration of education or training. Let's say that I've been let's say I've been a direct support professional for 2 years and I'm really interested in becoming a medical assistant next. Let's say this duration of education or training program, I don't know what that's going to require. So at this point, I'm just going to enter, if I knew exactly the amount of training it was going to take, I could enter the custom training. Let's say I'm just going to use a typical duration required for the occupation. Selecting this is going to provide back to you information that U.S. Department of Labor has. So if there's anything different that the state of New Mexico does, it's not Department of Labor, that's what this is going to, push back to you. And then the bottom down here, the bottom down here, let's say occupation for comparison, a near minimum wage job. And remember, this is going to be Bernalillo County. So Bernalillo County, near minimum wage job, minimum wage in Albuquerque is different than federal. This tool is already loaded with Bernalillo County minimum wage. Can't remember what that is. 12. Right now it's about 12. I think that's what that is because our state is about 12. So by you selecting that button, near minimum wage job, that's not going to pull up the old $7.25 an hour or even $9 from 2019. That's going to pull up a $12 an hour job. Okay, then I'm going to calculate the results. Sandra, do you mean use a counselor for comparison? Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna find a counselor in here. Let me get a social, how about a social worker? There we go. Nope, not education.
Social workers are all others.
There we go. I'll be jumping off the cliff once employed. Oh yeah, see? So Sandra, this will be perfect for you. I mean, to kind of do a little bit of playing around in here. Okay, so before I hit calculate results, let's just review. I've put in here New Mexico, Bernalillo County. I'm one adult with no children. I get, oh, I can't, I don't have any, I have to put one child at least, right? So in order to get the child tax credit. So let me put 8, and then it makes you put in the age because this is going to be a projection. Because when that child leaves school, you know, this is going to project out a good many years. Okay, first child under is 3 years old. I've already selected earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and dependent care tax credit. I want to know what's going to happen if I go into educational program that's going to make me a medical assistant, and I want to compare that to a community and social service occupation counselor. Calculate results. And this takes a little while. I'm going to click that again because it doesn't give you a little like wheel to show you that it's working, but I do know it is working. It does take just a little while. There we go. Okay, so I was on my welcome page. Now I'm going to switch over and show you the right-hand side of the screen. There was the welcome page. It kind of walks you through what to put on the left-hand side. Here's the results page. And then the policymakers page is going to show you a whole set of data because policymakers are going to be interested in, well, how much taxes is this person going to pay into the system over, 20 years time or a lifetime, both as a medical assistant, but also as a counselor. Okay, so let's kind of walk through this just a little bit. Can you all see? Okay, I'm going to presume you can see. Okay, thank you, Bridget. I watched you for that. Okay, so the chart below compares income before taxes for the target career path. Meaning, see, here's the target, here's the counselor, and the target is the medical assistant. So like first cut, Sandra, it looks like being a counselor is going to be better in terms of payoff than medical assistant. But let's find out. This shows, it calculated that in 2022, your income by the year 2023, which means after your education, after your schooling, is going to go from, what is this, 11,000, oh, here it is, $12,071. And it's going to jump with your first job to 27,752. And it's going to keep going up. Mostly probably cost of living increases. Same with the counseling, right? And this is projected out for, what is that, 24 years for Leo County. The self-sufficiency target income is a concept we haven't talked about yet. That self-sufficiency chart is shown here by the gray dotted line. So the self-sufficiency target is an amount that happens in the home. This is family take-home pay when it reaches that amount where the family has achieved economic self-sufficiency. And what we like to look at are the intersections of this dotted gray line against whatever it is you're comparing. So the take-home pay would be after tax, after tax pay, okay? So here's the one again for the counselor. It's going to be 28,100 is going to be your take-home pay. That's going to keep on moving up like we saw in the previous chart. And then the medical assistant's take-home pay is going to be 11,148. But it's going to jump up to 23,530. The medical assistant reaches self-sufficiency in year 2038. That's kind of a long way away. Whereas the counselor reaches family self-sufficiency by the year 2032. And so experience, years of experience is also built into this. You know, what they've kind of figured into here, what do you get as a direct support professional, as an example? If you go in and apply for a job and you've never had any experience, what might you get paid versus if you've got 10 years of experience, what can you expect to earn? Okay, and then this would probably be a good time to go to some of these training videos because then we can kind of get into a little bit more detail on the terminology. How about that? So I'm going to stop sharing for a second and just see if there are any. I don't know this program inside out, and we've only had it for about a month. But any kind of big questions yet? Elizabeth, you're on mute. Elizabeth is eating. She's not on mute. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep going then. How are we on time? 5:42. Do we finish at 6:30?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Here's another little URL I'm going to put in the chat. This was really good to me. That little link will walk you through these training videos. There are lots of them, but they're so much fun and they're so real. And I just was floored when I went through these training videos. In these training videos, you will have to sign up for a user ID and I think a password too, because it lets you start and stop and it keeps track of where you are, you know, throughout so that it can give you a certificate of completion when you're done. That's one reason. The other reason is these are complicated terms and they're complicated concepts. And so, you know, it doesn't want to make you keep going back to the beginning. It wants to pick up again where you left off. So let me show you. I'm signed in here up on my name. I've been through all of them. I think Bridget's been through all of them too.
Mhm.
And I thought what might be fun for today is going through a couple core concepts, because I think once you get the core concepts, like kind of the leveling of the language that we use, the family self-sufficiency target, once you understand what that means, then you'll be able to really read the charts better. It won't all look like gobbledygook. And I didn't have these training videos when I first started getting into this page. I didn't have the training videos, and I was really at a loss. Once I saw these videos, it just it became magic. So I'm gonna start playing a couple of these, and we'll just start from the beginning, as though we were all starting together. I think I have to share the sound.
Mhm.
Second, let's see if this works. And if you just, Chris, I can see your face first. Could you just nod if you can hear the sound as we're going?
Hey there! In this video, I'm going to show you how to
Thank
make
you.
your way around this online course. What you're looking at here is the course player. Yours might look a little different than mine here. Your instructor has probably customized this to make sure that you have the best learning experience. On the left here, you can see all the lessons in this course. You can open and close chapters and click on lessons to view them. This is a video lesson, and you can press play to start watching it. When you're finished, you can select this button to mark it complete and continue on. Your overall progress in this course is here. There are lesson options in this part of the course player, and you can join in discussions if your instructor has them enabled for this course. Leave a post or reply to a thread to join the conversation. You can get back to your student dashboard and account settings by selecting this button. That's all for now. Happy learning.
Okay, I'm going to, do you see my screen where it says continue? I'm just going to press continue. We'll see what's next.
What do you think of when you think of the American dream? It means different things for different people, but for Leah, a 25-year-old single mother of two, working a low-wage job at a theater concession stand, that dream is to become a nurse, an opportunity occupation in her hometown, offering a salary higher than the median wage. Becoming a nurse could also place Leah on a path with options for professional advancement and help her provide a better life for herself and her family. As Leah starts her journey, costs like educational fees and higher taxes on Leah's pay can actually cause a dip in her income. But over time, Leah's future looks brighter. After taxes, her lifetime earnings are higher. That's part of the American dream, right? Unfortunately, Leah's situation isn't this simple. Like many workers earning low wages, Leah receives public assistance to pay for food, medical care, child care, and housing. As Leah's income grows, she'll lose access to those benefits. Often, this occurs before she makes enough money to cover her full expenses herself. An entire decade could pass before Leah begins to break even. And as a result, for most of her children's lives, Leah's standard of living will actually be lower. This forces Leah to choose between her children's best interests and her own brighter future. Financial barriers like these can be so daunting. Some people in Leah's situation will give up on their dreams or experience too many barriers to achieve them. This devastating combination of increased pay and the resulting loss of support is called the benefits cliff, and it's a significant obstacle for workers seeking a better life. And make no mistake about it, while Leah is depicted here as an animated character, her story is based on real-life challenges faced by many Americans. As a taxpayer, Leah's situation also impacts you. If Leah could move from her current job to becoming a nurse, the combination of her increased tax contributions and a reduction in her taxpayer-funded support could recover hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars over the course of her lifetime. Employers, educators, nonprofits, policymakers, and others could work together on solutions that provide opportunities and pathways, pairing people like Leah with businesses in need of skilled talent, while allowing Leah to work toward financial security for herself and her family. Informed by sound research and thoughtful policy, the right partners could create a win-win situation, empowering Americans like Leah to avoid the perils of the benefits cliff, saving taxpayers money, and increasing the odds Leah, her children, and the rest of us can make all of our American dreams come true.
Language is good. You know, it's kind of breaking down a complex idea. I'm going to press continue down here. We're going to go to the next module. I think there are 16 in here. You'll be asked to complete a survey every so often. I've already done that, so it didn't make me do that again. Okay, here's the next video module.
Welcome back. I hope you found the video informative. The real-life challenges illustrated in the video impact millions of Americans. Leah's dream is to become a nurse. Let's take a look at how she can make her dream a reality by learning more about career pathways. A typical career guide shows a clear financial benefit to advancement. In this illustration, we're looking at a typical career pathway in health science. The wages in this slide are all median wages, or wages where half of the workers in the occupation earn more than the amount shown, and half earn less. In the example from the video, Leah is earning approximately $18,700 a year working in a near minimum wage concession job at a movie theater. If she makes a transition into the nursing field, she should see an increase in income. The CNA, or Certified Nursing Assistant, median wage is approximately $24,000. The LPN, or Licensed Practical Nurse, median wage is approximately $42,000. And the RN, or the Registered Nurse, median wage is approximately $61,000. The further Leah advances along a career pathway, the more financial benefit she'll gain. This graphic illustrates another way of looking at career pathways, through transferable skills. Let's say Leah earns her CNA certification and decides it might not be the right fit. The skills she learned in the CNA program are transferable to other pathways. She could pursue additional training for a job as a medication aide, EKG technician, phlebotomist, or a dialysis technician. Or she could go the non-nursing route in healthcare with an occupation like medical billing and coding or pharmacy technician. As she develops skills, she's creating opportunities in other areas of industry as well, say like insurance, for example. Oftentimes, they need people with a medical background for occupations like claims processing. So as you can see, as Leah develops more skills, it opens up more opportunities for her career advancement. The third thing to consider when thinking about career pathways is the amount of time required for training. In this slide, we have moved away from using the median wage information, and we are focusing on wages in her area. Reading this graphic from the bottom up, we have an entry-level job like home health aide or personal care aide. These jobs typically allow someone to start right away and receive training while they work. With additional education, the CNA certification leads to a wage increase. In the next tier, we have the licensed practical nurse occupation. In some areas, the LPN certification can be earned in a little over a year, and it brings a substantial salary increase. Finally, we have the registered nurse. There are 2 tracks for this occupation. You can either take a 2-year program at a community college, or you can pursue the 4-year university track. Either way, the occupation leads to a much higher income than what Leah is currently earning. Let's get to know Leah a little better. She's a 25-year-old mother of 2 ages 4 and 6, and living in Birmingham, Alabama. She works full-time, earning $9 an hour, and is currently receiving the following public assistance and tax credits. Now let's assume that Leah has taken the first step and earned her CNA certification. Should she continue along the career pathway to licensed practical nurse, or stay in school the additional time to become a registered nurse?
Excuse me. Continue.
The choices aren't always that easy. Workers can encounter barriers to advancement like lack of transportation or childcare. They can also encounter benefits cliffs or the loss of $1 or more of public assistance for every dollar earned working. So, for example, let's say Leah receives a 25-cent raise after completing her CNA certification. That's a good thing, right? But what if because of her raise, she loses a monthly childcare subsidy of $500? These are real challenges that Americans face every day. We hope you found this section informative. In the next lesson, you'll look at vocabulary and core concepts associated with benefits cliffs. But first, click Continue for a quick assessment to check your understanding of career pathways and barriers to career advancement.
Better not make me redo the test. Oh, good. It did not make me redo the test. They're not easy, but if you listen to the video, you'll definitely get it. If you take this test without listening to the video, I probably couldn't have, I know I couldn't have answered every one right. We're going to keep on going. I love this section on the vocabulary and core concepts. It's kind of gets everybody on the same page with the Fed in terms of the terms they use.
Welcome back. In this lesson, we will examine the vocabulary and core concepts that you will use in the CLIF tools. Some of these will be new to you and some will be a review. So let's get started. In the last lesson, we defined a benefit cliff as an income gain that leads to a loss of financial resources. This loss makes a worker worse off than they were before the income gain. If you recall in the last lesson, we used the example of Leah receiving a 25-cent hourly raise that was just enough additional income to push her over the threshold to qualify for a childcare benefit. That small increase in income resulted in the loss of $500 a month in childcare subsidies. Workers also experience benefit plateaus, or an income gain that leads to a loss in financial resources, which makes the worker about as well off as they were before the income gain. So if you think of it this way, for every additional dollar they earn, they lose $1 of the benefits they were receiving. Next up is the self-sufficiency target. This is the amount of income needed to pay basic expenses without the need for public assistance. The self-sufficiency target is different for every family. It depends on your unique family situation and monthly expenses, and we'll dig a little deeper into that in just a few minutes.
So I love this slide. The cliff is what happens when an income gain leads to a loss in financial resources that makes the worker worse off. The plateau leads to a loss of financial resources such that the worker is about as well off as they were before that wage increase. For example, having to pay for groceries instead of getting food stamps. And then the self-sufficiency target is the term used for that amount of income needed to pay basic expenses and not be on public assistance. Just breaking it down.
In the last lesson, we looked at career pathways. And as a reminder, these are a series of education, training, and job experiences that help you progress towards your ultimate career goals. We defined median wage as the wage at which half of the workers in the occupation earn more than the amount indicated and half earn less. And we identified a near minimum wage job as an entry-level position that pays at or close to the state's minimum wage. Public assistance are programs that a family or individual may qualify for that includes tax credits, cash assistance, and in-kind benefits provided by the government. Tax credits are an amount of money that a taxpayer is permitted to subtract dollar for dollar from the income taxes that they owe. These tax credits can oftentimes lead to a refund of taxes paid. And when we refer to expenses, we're specifically looking at the costs incurred for things like childcare, food, healthcare, housing, transportation, utilities, and other miscellaneous items like clothing.
I think she talks a little fast for a Southerner, especially. Let me just review 3 things. So public assistance would include any of those tax credits, any cash assistance, and any in-kind benefits like SSI, like SSDI. A tax credit would be something that you could subtract at the end of the year and take off of your tax return. So for example, if you owed money, but you had 3 young children that let you deduct what you owed to the IRS, that would be a credit. And then expenses would be everything that would be an expense in your household. And are you guys able, do you know how to work the reactions? Could you raise your hand if you have ever done or have a budget, a household budget? Do you have a household budget that you've already done? Chris Love raised his hand. Bridget. So a lot of these things, they're much, much more useful when you've done a household budget. I'll tell you what, it took me more than a year to do it because I wanted to get it down just right, like down to the penny and see exactly what I was spending. But it was worth it. And it's not, really that much fun, but oh, thank you, Elizabeth. But, some people are geeky about it and they like doing it. I'm going to keep on going.
The last topic we're going to talk about in this lesson is net financial resources. Net financial resources are what you get when you take your after-tax income and add it to any public assistance you might receive, and then subtract your expenses. So let's break each of these components down. After-tax income is your net income, or your take-home pay earned from working. We mentioned earlier that public assistance refers to the programs that provide either cash assistance or in-kind benefits to individuals and families from government agencies. We mentioned that expenses typically include things like childcare, food, healthcare, housing, transportation, utilities, and other expenses like clothing. And then that brings us to net financial resources, or the funds that are left over after a family has paid all of their expenses. It's their disposable income.
Just to capstone this again, so your take-home pay would be what's on that pay stub every, 2 weeks or every month that you get if you're an employee, plus the public assistance benefits that you get, including tax credits at the end of the year. And you can see how powerful it would be if you would do a household budget that actually captured all of your real true expenses, neither higher nor lower, but like if you can get it just right on the money as much as you can, then that makes this formula so much more powerful. Because if you know this number, and you already know the after-tax income, your take-home pay, because you could just look at your check stub, the net is your disposable income or discretionary income. That's what you have left over after, your income plus the public assistance minus the expenses. And Sandra, knowing you as well as I do, you're going to go crazy on this budget and you're going to love it. You're just the right kind of person who would, do it. You do a great job at it. You would get it real close to what it actually is, and that'll be so helpful. And it's worth doing, because of this class. And I'd be happy to, I don't know, but Bridget, you probably don't need me for this at all, but if anybody wants to talk about their household budget, there's some really good, templates that exist, and I can help you go through it. And I can show you, how I did mine. So if y'all ever spent a whole class on it, I'm going to keep going.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you found it helpful. In our next lesson, we're going to look at some of the charts that you will use in the Cliff tools. But first, we have a quick assessment to check for vocabulary and core concepts understanding. So when you're ready, click Next to continue. Welcome back. In the final lessons of this module, we'll explore the charts found in the Cliffs tools. The two primary charts we'll look at are line charts and segmented bar charts. These lessons have been designed as a refresher course to make sure you're 100% comfortable using and interpreting the information generated by the Cliffs tools with your audience. But before we get started, we have a quick poll question.
I had a trainer, probably Chris knows this company, ARCA, the trainer for ARCA, who went through this and just said it was a really good mix of, video, practice, practicum, test taking. That was really good feedback. I thought that was true too.
To help you visualize the impact of benefits cliffs, let's look at this chart. We use a line chart to illustrate impact over time. And in this chart, we are looking at the impact to household annual net resources or disposable income as their annual employment income increases. Annual employment income is on the X or horizontal axis. I've added the red arrow along the bottom of the screen to point this out. We see wages increase over time, and we're assuming that this increases through yearly raises. Annual net resources or take-home pay is on the Y or vertical axis. And if you look at the $25,000 mark on the X axis or annual employment income, you will see a dotted arrow. Now look at the Y axis at approximately $17,000, representing the annual net resources. Where the two lines intersect is our data point. A data point on a line chart represents the quantity or number that matches a particular time in the x-axis. The line segment connecting individual data points gives us a picture of whether income is increasing or decreasing trend. In this example, we see a sharp decline in the family's annual net resources. The slope of the line is important because the steeper the slope, the greater the change in magnitude between two consecutive points. This is where the term benefit cliff comes from. The sharp decline from the loss of a benefit appears on the line chart and resembles a cliff. This slide illustrates the impact of benefits cliffs on a single mother with two children. As her income increases, there are sharp decreases at certain points. The first cliff happens at the far left. The cliff could be caused by the loss of public assistance programs like adult Medicaid. The next cliff occurs on the right side of the screen. This one is more pronounced than the first, and this could represent another loss of public assistance like her children losing Medicaid. The third sharp drop at the extreme right side might represent when she loses child care subsidy benefits. In the center of the chart, we see the family has hit a benefits plateau, or a period when they are no better off financially than before the income increase.
So that's kind of a powerful chart right there. So you see she's pointing, this arrow is pointing to the cliff, meaning the decrease. So right about 6,000, it drops back down to 5,000. They point out here a plateau, meaning that take-home pay, net financial resources, I'm sorry, not take-home pay, but net financial resources is actually at a plateau. They didn't point to the fact that another cliff occurs right here, right? So you see that drop where she's actually worse off, you know, after this little dip than she was even during the plateau. Okay, and so her wages keep increasing, and then you have, like she said, a sharp drop here and then another drop here before her net financial resources start to rise again. So net financial resources is your income from your pay stub, any benefits that you get, you know, those two added together, minus, you know, all of your household expenses. In my case, I just tack on taxes to my expenses. When I do a household budget, or when I did a household budget, I factor in the taxes that I paid, both to federal and state, into the budget calculation. And it worked pretty well. I'd say I've been doing this for, I don't know, not more than 5 years. And it's kind of right on the money. So I know about what I'm going to pay in taxes, whether I'm going to pay taxes, which helps me just plan for the next year a little bit better. And hello, my retirement, someday I got to do that. And I want to do it so that, you know, I'm not in poverty when I retire. There's lots more that goes on just in that module, in that training, you know, set of tools. I think we went through 4 or 5 maybe. There's probably 20 in there. And then it takes you through another set of training modules. And I think you'll really have a lot of fun if you get into it. You guys have any questions up to this point? I did not want to add any more content because I think that's kind of complicated enough. What do you think? Any questions, any comments? Cynthia, when you said I've never heard of this either, pretty interesting. Did you mean the budget or did you mean like the Cliff tool?
Just all of it, the whole concept of income-based budgeting.
Yeah, good. Bridget, could you say more about the household budget? And you had offered to help Sandra, and is there a segment in the financial inclusion class for y'all to do a budget?
Not particularly, but I've got a lot of them. I mean, Dana did mention household budgets in one of the financial courses. I can't remember which one near the beginning, but I have access to all sorts of them on the internet, you know, so there's 3 or 4 different ways to do a household budget. So
Good.
I'll be happy to, you know, help Sandra with them, Cynthia with it. If you want, we'll get together, figure out the best budget, and y'all can start going crazy.
Good. I had just to kind of keep it a little light, not too serious, but I had 2 cats. They both lived to age 19. They died within 6 months of each other. They both died in 2022. One of them I was so utterly attached to. I'm still having a hard time with it. But those veterinary bills were like out of this world. I don't have that expense anymore. So I'm not saying there's a silver lining, but I'm kind of liking not having that expense in my household budget. So I'm going to rethink this business of pets in the future for sure. Thank you, Sandra. That little cat was called, the second one that died, his name was Charlie. But my husband did not want this cat in this house at all. He did not want this cat. But one morning, my husband woke up and he said, "That does not look like a Charlie. It looks like a Pedro." My husband's Hispanic. And I said to myself, bingo, looks like we're keeping this cat. Thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, pet insurance. Why not? I should look at that, and I should look at the cost of pet insurance to see if that's worth it. I'll give you back your 15 minutes unless y'all have, do you have other things you want to share, Bridget, about this class?
No, you put in the chat how to get to the Cliff tool, so I think that's good. And this would be a work on your own project as far as the IBA is concerned. So, but if you have any questions, you can always contact me and I'll walk you through it best I can. We have one more financial class, and that's next Wednesday, and that ends the series through New Mexico Caregivers Coalition. That's going to be Don Escobel. You guys know Don from previous trainings. She's the bank lady. Yeah, she's given one on totally spaced the name out. It's about
Predatory lending? Predatory lending.
Predatory lending, thank
Good.
you. Should be really interesting. And that'll complete us on the trainings through caregivers. And then I've sent you guys all the do-it-yourself trainings online. Those are kind of fun. If anybody's tried any of those yet, they're kind of fun. And then we'll be done. So that's all I have to say.
Well, best of luck. I want to see when you cash out with $2,500. You're on your way. You're going to be there, and congratulations and very best of luck.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll see you at another time, I hope.
See you guys next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye all.